You want to be a more happy and positive person. You want to feel good more of the time so that you can take greater actions and get an even better result. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you a representation and a strategy that will help you to become a more positive and happy person. Let's get right to it. The ultimate goal that I have for myself throughout my days, weeks, months, and years is simple. It is to feel good as much of the time as possible. And that doesn't mean that I ignore my problems. It doesn't mean that when bad things happen, I trick myself to feel positive versus getting into the nitty-gritty and actually dealing with that issue. What it means is when I feel good, the actions that I take produce different results. As an example, if you were faced with a challenge and you went into an emotional state of anger or anxiety or depression, would the actions you took be nearly as effective as if you felt good in that moment? Because even if you can get yourself into a state of excitement or a state of hope or curiosity, wouldn't you take very different actions in order to find a solution to that problem? So what I'm telling you in this video is not to trick yourself to be happy all of the time, because that's impossible. All the emotions we have, they are okay to feel, right? If we are feeling depressed in a specific moment, then allow that feeling to be there, but don't wallow in that feeling. If you're sad, don't stay there, right? Give yourself a few minutes, maybe even 10 minutes to feel that way, and then get yourself out of that emotional state. Because the things that you do when you're in that state are not serving you. The things that you're doing when you're in that low vibration or disempowering state is attracting more of those emotional states into your life. And in my early 20s, I really struggled with this. I was heavily overweight, I was in a ton of debt, and I just had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I had all these things in the outside world, like a nice car, a nice place to live, a beautiful wife, but that didn't make me happy because I wasn't adept at controlling and managing my emotional state. And what I learned through books and coaches and mentors is whatever you're thinking about, your thoughts attract other thoughts similar to the ones that you're currently thinking. So currently ask yourself, how are you feeling throughout your days? Are you more happy than you are sad? Are you more exuberant than you are anxious, right? What are you feeling most of the time? Are you mostly positive? Then you're probably attracting more positive vibes into your life. But if you're mostly in a down state, or you identify with an emotion such as depression or anxiety or anger, if you're identifying with that emotion, then you're telling your brain that that is who you are. And you're telling your brain that you want it to attract more of that type of emotion. Can you see how that could hurt you? Can you see how that could actually put you in a feedback loop where you're constantly attracting the same thing that you're currently experiencing? And if that's you, then I want to show you a representation that I've learned throughout the years that could really help you in this situation. So let me show you. I want you to think of your mind as a thought factory. And inside of this factory, inside of your head, there's two foremen, right? Two people who are managing the entire factory. And they're very different than each other. The first person you've got here, the first foreman, is Mr. Triumph. Right? This is the guy where you go into the factory and you're just feeling good. As soon as you walk in, you can just tell, wow, this is the place that I want to be. It's almost like you can feel the good vibes in the air. You can see the happy people happily working in the factory, doing what it is they do. You can see the foreman, Mr. Triumph, cheering people on, telling them that they're going to get over any of these challenges that they're currently facing, telling people to just keep doing their best and they're going to get results. This is the foreman that you want to work under. And the workers inside the factory, their names are names such as hope. Their name is gratitude. Their name is love, confidence, excitement. And there's so many more exciting and high vibrational emotions that work for Mr. Triumph. But then you take a trip into the basement of the factory. And as you walk down the cold, clammy stairs, you feel the temperature start to drop, and you might even have to put your coat on. Hopefully you brought it with you today. And you walk down the stairs and just the walls are a red hue, right? You see sadness. You see people who aren't happy doing what it is they're doing. You see people and their faces are solemn. You see other people and their shoulders are hunched, and They're very low. When they talk to you, you can't even hear them because they're just sad, right? They're down in the dumps. They've got so many problems. And in the distance, on top of the throne, the red throne with the red lights coming up behind it, you see the second foreman, the brother of Mr. Triumph, Mr. Defeat. Right? Mr. Triumph and Mr. Defeat, they had the same childhood. They had the same situations that they found themselves in. But the difference between Mr. Triumph and Mr. Defeat is a choice. Mr. Triumph chose to have these workers underneath him. Mr. Triumph chose to cheer people on. He chose to feel good most of the time. But Mr. Defeat said, I don't want to be anything like my brother. There's so much misery and sadness and despair and depression in the world that I want to be that. I want to address what is real, what is true. And that is how he became Mr. Defeat. And his workers, their names are a lot different than Mr. Triumph. Mr. Defeat's workers are hate, anger, disparity, anxiety, envy, sadness, all of the emotions that we want to avoid as much as possible. But we want to avoid these, yet we practice rituals that reinforce them. Right? Think about this. Think about the people you spend the most time around. Are they hanging out with Mr. Triumph or are they hanging out with Mr. Defeat? Right? Check your inner circle. If they're hanging out with Mr. Defeat, you gotta find some blue people, right? You gotta find some Mr. Triumph supporters. You gotta find people who are living their life on this side of the factory, on the upper levels, where there's brightness and happiness and feel-good vibes that allow you to get done what you want to get done. Right? Life is too short to choose to feel this way. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy. It's not easy to ascend from the basement to the light. It's not easy to move from being a follower of Mr. Defeat to being a follower of Mr. Triumph, and I know that because I did it. This isn't theory, this is experience. And once I started choosing more empowering emotions, that's when my entire life changed. That's when I started to feel better. That's when I released the extra weight from my body. That's when I got myself out of debt. That's when I found new friends, a new inner circle, supporters of Mr. Triumph. Once I got myself around people like that, it was very hard to feel this way. I started to use my body in a different way. I started to put my shoulders back, my chin up. I started to try to smile, right? And if you're listening and you're like, I just don't want to smile anyway, just try it. Right? Play your favorite song and sing along with it, right? Dance around your apartment or your home, whatever it takes in order for you to choose to feel this way most of the time. Now hold on just a minute. I just noticed that you weren't subscribed to the channel. So go down here, hit that red subscribe button, and then next to it, hit that bell. When you hit the bell, you're turning on notifications so you see all the new videos that we release on this channel every single week. Now let's get back to it. Something that personally helped me to ascend from the basement level with Mr. Defeat to the light with Mr. Triumph was to start my days off by priming myself for success. I'll wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is I brew my coffee, I sit down, I write down goals for myself, and as I write down my goals, I write them in a way that causes me to see things in a light of gratitude. I'll write down things such as I am so happy and grateful for my arms and my legs that allow me to lift things, that allow me to walk, that allow me to explore the world and its wonders. I'm so happy and grateful for the amazing people in my life, and I might even write down some of their names. But the point here that I want to give you without going too deep into depth is start your day off in a way that causes you to feel good. Because if you can start your day feeling good, then it's very likely that you'll continue moving through your day feeling that same exact way. The way that you start your day makes one heck of a difference. And by following these principles, it's only a matter of time before you're feeling more good than you are bad. And the more good you feel, the more good you will attract into your life. Because remember, feeling good causes you to take great actions, which will cause you to have a great end result, which makes your life better and will lead you to fulfillment. If you want to dive deeper into these principles behind emotions and thought, then I want you to click this video right here. It's called How to Not Let Your Emotions Run Your Life, which will go even deeper into these concepts to help you live a better life.